today's session actually teaches you to start your own podcast. Just imagine each one of us can have our own podcast and we can go live, spreading the word to people all over the globe about something we have done or something we have learned or something we can share or we can even a talent that we possess. So let's all learn to create our own podcast, and I'll show you in very simple steps how we're going to do that. Anybody here from my last class? Anybody here? We're supposed to have done a podcast after the last session. Anybody here from my last class? Hi,
Ma'am, I
Ruby. Did
joined
you
in the
join?
last class, ma'am. Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Yes, very fine. I thought you were traveling somewhere.
Yes, yes. Came back last night only.
Okay, okay. Good to see you. So, we did speak about how to start a podcast, the simplest basic steps about how to start a podcast. And I showed you all the simplest ways of doing it. And today I'm going to show you how to go live with it. So I hope you'll tried, you did your homework, because unless you have done the first part, the second part may be a little difficult. So I really request you all to try doing it because it's very important. So I'm going to show you today how to start a podcast, how to record and edit on podcast, how to submit and promote on podcast. Okay. So what's the one thing you're all hoping to learn today? Can any of you tell me what you're going to learn today? Hi, Mina. Okay, so you're going to learn to start your own podcast. So, do you need prior knowledge check? Not at all. All you need is some amount of creativity, some ideas on topics for your podcast, basic equipment that you may require, and the knowledge of how to record and edit. That's it. And again, all that I'm telling you is done right from your Android mobile phones or your iPhones. So it's as simple as ABC. So first of all, we need to learn to, download the apps, which is the most important part of everything. So you need to go into your Play Store and type the app you're looking for, download and install. If you have any difficulty downloading the apps, please do let me know. I'm going to show you as well when I go live. But before that, remember that we're going to a Play Store. So, what is the podcast app that you're going to download is what we're going to show you today. So there are many apps, but I'm going to just show you the simplest of them all. Maybe I'll show you one or two, and you just have to download that, and you're ready to go online. Have any of you ever tried going live on podcast? Anybody here who's ever tried this out? Nobody? Okay, I thought I'll see some hands up. Okay, it doesn't matter. From tomorrow, we'll be going live. So we create a wonderful platform for you to grow. There are so many different apps available on Play Store, free app, easy to use and easy to understand. Okay, so how to start a podcast? These are the main facts that you need to look into for starting a podcast. You have to choose a topic that will interest the audience. You must also know who the audience is. Okay, so your topic, it works both ways. You must know the audience to choose the topic, and you must choose the topic to suit your audience. So it works both ways. So pick a nice name for your podcast series, because the name is very attractive. So people may say, what's in a name? But everything is in a name, because when you just say, I'm going to talk to you about how to bring up your child, nobody is going to even listen to it. But when you say tips and tricks to get that child up and about, people may want to listen to you. So it is just the way you present it, the way you title it, the way you bring in the name, that changes the entire perspective of what you're going to do. Okay, so remember the name is very, very important. And if you want it as a series or whether you're just looking at it as a one time, all those are things you need to look into before you start your podcasting. Okay, so that is the most second most important rule. The third is writing a description for your podcast. So when you write, say for instance, you've written tips and tricks of how to bring up that great child in your house, you're not doing a lecture here. So you're going to give them ideas, like send them to this, make them do this, make them do that. So you're going to give them ideas. So write a description because people will always read the description before they plunge into it. So the description for your podcast is very important, and that also helps you to promote your podcast. Then deciding on your podcast format. What do you mean by format? uh, it is not whether it's a written format or a word format or anything. This is all a podcast is only a spoken format, but you can do it in the form of a limerick, you can do it in the form of a song, you can do it like a talk show. You can have a 10-minute talk show, a 8-minute talk show, a 25-minute talk show. So you need to know who is your audience and set your podcast format accordingly. Supposing you're talking to children, their attention span is very small. So you can't talk to them for 20 minutes and expecting to listen. So keep it short and sweet. So you just say you have an 8-minute podcast every other day, people will come. But if you say 20 minutes every day, nobody will come. Remember, people want to hear what they want to hear, not what you want to tell them. So always choose your topic and your timing, very, very important, and choose the perfect hosting service. When I say hosting service, is it on YouTube? Is it just a web series? Is it on Netflix or is it on video? Made there are so many different. Is it on Instagram? So choose the service which will appeal to that audience. If you're looking at the 20 to the 35 age group, Insta is definitely the best. If you're looking at the old age group, Facebook is better. If you're looking at it's not the age group that matters, you just wanted to go everywhere, then YouTube is good. So look at the perfect hosting service, very important. So with this, I will stop here and I'm going to go online to show you how you can actually make use of uh, this app for podcasting. Yes, we are going to become super podcasters. So just give me a minute and to go online. Yes. So that's my phone. So all the apps I'm talking about, I'm doing it from my Android mobile. The reason why I'm doing it from that is to become a podcaster, you don't need a laptop and all the paraphernalia you think you need. Can be done very, very simply right from your mobile phone and your fingers. It's at your fingertip, if you ask me. So, what are the apps that we're going to talk about? I'm going to teach you two apps today. One is called Podcast Maker, and another one is called Anchor. So, let me start with the Podcast Maker. So, what I will do is I'm going into my Play Store, go to Play Store, and I'm going to say podcast. I'm not even typing podcast app. Okay, I'm just going to say podcast. It shows me you want a podcast editing app. So I'm saying yes. And then you see a whole lot of them open. There's Anchor, Podcast Maker, Spreaker Studio, Audio Etc. So many are there. So I'm just going to open what I want. Okay, so you can choose whichever you want. You can try out everything. See whichever you are comfortable with. Okay, so since I already have something downloaded, I will just show that, but I will come back to you with this as well. Okay, uh, so I'm going into podcast maker. Okay, before I start, can someone tell me what is podcast? What is a podcast? Someone tell me what is a podcast. Any one of you. Sureka, Mansoor, Meena. Can any one of you tell me what is a podcast? No, no one to tell me what is a podcast. Nita, Peter, can any of you tell me what is a podcast? No? Okay. I will tell you what is a podcast. A podcast is a spoken version of a blog. It's a voice blog. In other words, it's a voice blog. You all know what is a blog. A blog is written material. When you send out information in a written material on the social media platform for people anywhere and everywhere, it is called a blog. When we say blog, it means we are giving a description of something, an advice, or it could even be a recipe, or it could be information, a detailed information. So that's called a blog. We've all heard of blog writing. We all heard that blogs are very, very powerful form of um, media. And we also have travel blogs, cooking blogs, food tasters blog. There are so many blogs. So podcast is the spoken version or the oral version of a blog. So whatever you don't want to write, you can speak about it. Supposing I want to talk about my travel experience, I can do a podcast. For instance, I have made a trip to say Sri Lanka, and I want to give the description. I'm no good at writing. I don't have the flair for writing. So you create a podcast. So you talk about how you right from the beginning how you thought of your destination, how you did your travel plans, how you got your visa, how you paid for this or that, how you what are the flights that I mean what are the flight options you had. So all those kind of things. And you go on to saying how you reach destination, how you are welcome. So you're going to make that. So that's going to be our topic today for our class. Okay, so mm, uh, a podcast is a oral blog. In other words, it's a voice blog. Okay, got it? So now I'm going to just show you to make your own blog. So can you see this is my podcast home page. I already spoke about this app in the last session. So this is how the home page will look. So there is a plus sign. I'm going into the plus sign, and then there's a library and there's episodes. So I'm just going into a new one. Okay, so the episode doesn't have any audio in it yet. So I'm going to create my first blog. Can you see the speaker button right at the bottom? So I'm going to click on that and say, hello, dear friends and viewers. Today I'm going to talk to you about my fantastic holiday in Sri Lanka. Yes, Sri Lanka is definitely a pearl on the Indian Ocean. It's a beautiful holiday destination. I was fascinated with this island and I just looked up some details to see how I can travel there. And I found that it was just a visa on arrival, but you can do it even beforehand. So I got my visa online and I just had to pay $12 to get my visa, and I had some travel requirements to fulfill. I had some insurance requirements due to COVID. So I completed everything and I booked my flight on this amazing air carrier called Sri Lankan Airlines. Yes, I say it's amazing because the staff was so courteous, and above all, it was a very, very uh, simple flight, and so good food was served, and it was exciting. So I landed in this airport called the Kattunaika International Airport, or Bandaranaike International Airport. And the after my regular immigration, I was greeted by my travel agent with a board which said, "Welcome to the island of paradise," and he whisked me off. So the local language they say is called Sinhala, but there are a lot of people who talk Tamil as well. So these are the two majorly spoken languages. Okay, so now I've stopped. Okay, and I'm saving this recording. Can you all see what I did? I stopped and I saved the recording. And I have spoken for 1 minute and 44 seconds. So remember, I told you we need to have a format. So this is the format. We need to know how many minutes we have to have our session, our podcast for. That's very important. So I'm going to show you how you get the timing right now. So I'm going to click again on the audio. And can you see right on top, there's a timer which is clicking. Can you see 30:04, 30:05? So that is your timer. So that tells you how many minutes you're talking. Okay, so this is what we need to keep in mind when you're doing a podcast. You have to keep an eye on the timing to see how many minutes you're talking. That's a very, very important thing. So now I've spoken for 21 seconds, and when it comes to 1 minute, I'm going to stop my talk because I'm actually being very conscious of the time. So now it's 30.3637. So let me see what happens. And yes, uh, as I told you earlier, the timing is the most important aspect of your podcast. It can't be too long, it can't be too short, it has to be just right. Okay, so now if you notice, we're coming to 57, 58, 59, and we have come to 1 minute and 2 seconds. So now I'm stopping. So it says you can keep this draft to your library or delete it permanently, but I'm saving it because I want to show you. Okay, so now I've saved it. Can you see there are three dots? It says untitled and three dots by the side. Can you see those three tiny dots? I'm clicking on the three tiny dots and see the number of um, options that I'm getting. So in this, I can add, edit background music. So to my talk, I can put a background music. I'm going to show you. Then you can rename your file. You can delete your file. You can trim. You can split. You can, increase the volume, and that's it. Okay. So now, first I'm going to rename one by one. I'm going to rename. So this is called my uh, travel blog. Okay. So I'm saving it as travel blog. My then I'm going to trim this a little bit. So it shows me the start and the end, and I'm not too happy with my ends. I'm going to just trim it little bit. Okay, so I'm coming here and I'm going to say done, and it's so from 144 I made it to 132. Okay, now let me listen to what. Okay, I put my volume on mute because I'm on the computer, so I can just not see it. So now we have finished with the editing. So again, I'm going back to the three dots. So I have renamed. I shown you how to trim and what is split. I'm going to show you what is split. Now, supposing you want to trim the audio in the middle of the sequence, what we do is we'll bring this to the center and we can split it into two portions. Okay, so when you split it, now when I want to trim, I have an option, it'll come as two portions. So I can go here and split this here. So I can only split this center portion. I don't want to do it right now, but just for you to know. Okay. And I would always advise that you do the trimming and don't go for splitting, because sometimes you tend to lose what you have got. So always stick to your trimming. Now let me say I want to add the background music. So now I have some choices. It's giving me some choices. You want something calm, cheerful, dramatic, romantic. So I'm going to have say dramatic music. And okay, so I'm just going to add something. Okay, so now I have added music. Can you see the moment I added that? There's a small circle here with the music. Okay, so just a second. Let me see how I can show this to you. There'll be a little bit of an echo. Please bear with me. I will try not to talk and I just show you only the.
Ma'am, you can disable audio from either one of the devices when
So
you
just to
use.
show them that, just 2 minutes.
Yes.
So 1 second. I'm just trying to show them. Okay, I hope you could all hear the music. Okay, so this is how the background music will work. Okay, so 1 second. Yeah. So now I showed you very in simple terms how to create your voice and then to have a background music. Now, if you don't want the background music, you can always delete it as well. So can you see here the dramatic background music has been added. If you don't want it, you just have to delete it. And
Ma'am, your voice is not audible as much as previous.
not audible now. Now is it audible or not?
Yeah, now okay, ma'am.
Fine. Yeah. So I was just showing you that see, when I go to the add edit background music, if I want, I can add the music, okay, with the plus sign. And if I don't want it, I can delete it as well. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Gopi?
Ma'am, again in low mode.
No? Now can you hear me? No, I haven't done anything. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, ma'am, it's a little bit low, ma'am.
Second.
Ma'am,
Yeah. Now can you hear me?
need more sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay, ma'am. Now it's fine.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So when I go to the three dots and I say add edit music, background music, can you see a minus sign there in the Atlantic tune? When I click on that, the background music disappears. Okay, so you can add any kind of background music and you can delete it whenever you don't want it. Okay, so have you got this basic idea of how to create a podcast? Anybody want to ask me some questions? I need to know whether if you'll have understood it. So if there's any question, you're most welcome. No? Okay. So now I'm going into the next one. So again, I'm going to rename this as Sri Lanka. I'm just going to put it as Sri Lanka. Save. Okay, can you see how it is saved automatically? And then, can you see this import right on top? Can you see that import button? So when I go into import, it asks me whether I want to transfer it. I can transfer it. I can put it into my um, larger files on my drive, or I can, save it in my files. Anywhere I can save it wherever I want. So that is how we import the particular file and save it. Okay, so when you click on your library, all your podcasts are saved here forever until you delete them permanently. All right. I'd like to have some questions because that makes my work easy. So nobody's got questions at all. Peter, Sureka, anybody in the lounge, Gopi? Gopi, is there anybody in the lounge?
No, ma'am. We have 6 participants, ma'am. But these are all the TAs.
Uh-huh. Nobody in the lounge, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, but there are six, only two here. Where are the others? They've all disappeared.
Yes, ma'am. We have in the launch Sanskriti TA, Nitish ji, Manju, Swapnali. Swapnali is also TA, ma'am. No, Nitish and Manju D are the participants, ma'am.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Okay. Done. So now I have shown you the first podcast app, which is called Podcast Maker. It's very simple. I showed you how to do it. It's just recording. You can record and re-record any number of times. Just remember to save the file name as edit 1, edit 2, edit 3, so that you'll know which edit you're going to take. So when you know it's the best edit, you can write it as best edit. So you don't, make a mistake or any flaw in putting up the wrong edit. So just like this, I'm going to show you another app called Anchor. Okay, it's Anchor. So I already showed you the podcast maker, and now I'm showing you the Anchor. It's a very similar app, but I'm just showing it to you because there's no condition that this is the only app you have to use. You can choose whichever app works for you, which is easy for you to understand. So just go ahead and try out different apps. Okay? There's no compulsion that you must use only the apps that I'm showing you. So now I've gone to Anchor and I'm going to start creating here. So I'm going to start creating my podcast here. So I already have one episode. Now I'm going to create my second episode. So before I do that, I'm going to show you when you start all this, you have to actually log in. I've already shown you login details. You have to put your email ID, your name, all those things will be asked when you're installing the app. So give all those details, and then you can also have a trailer. This gives you a scope for a trailer before you bring in the actual episode. Okay, so can you see the plus sign here in tools? So I'm going to click on the plus sign, and then another plus sign appears. I'm going to click on this again, and then it's asking me, while recording, you can add flags to remind yourself later of parts you want to edit. So while you're doing a recording and you're not very satisfied, you can just put a small flag. Flag means a indication or a mark that you want to come back there and edit, or to you want to trim anything like that. Okay, so now you can also invite friends to join. I personally feel, till we are very thorough with our podcast, we should not invite other people to join. But when is the time that we need friends to join is if you're doing it like a interview. All podcasts need not be a one man show. It's always nice to hear several different kinds of voices. That's why people like mimicry, because they get very bored with the same voice. They want different kinds of voices. They like different pitches, different communication styles. So try and do this podcast as an interview. It works out very well because people always like to hear questions and answers. So when you want to do interview format, you can invite friends to join. So you go to invite friends, and then it'll ask you, um, you're the first one here. You want to invite friends, so yes, you invite. How do you want to invite your friends? You can invite them through Anchor, through message, Facebook, or you can copy the link and tell them to join it. Okay, so it's always best to keep them on Anchor first so that you can invite friends on Anchor. That's the simplest way. So now that you're done with all that, we're going to say record, and the timer has started. And what are we going to record about today? We're going to talk to you about what is a podcast. Yes. So now that we know the basics of a podcast, let's see how we can use it to promote our business. But I'm not very happy here. So I'm just added a flag there. A podcast is also a wonderful medium of branding, because when people hear the voice of a doctor or a successful entrepreneur, the voice is very appealing. So they get, sort of enthralled, and they want to get into that social media and start following them, or following their work, something like that. So it's the appeal which is very important. So I've added two flags here to show you how it appears. Okay, so now it's asking, do you want to add background music? So I say yes, I want to add background music. It's giving me a lot of options. So I'm going to choose Elmo Heights. So I have got the background music here, and now I need to save my work. Always remember to save your work. And then it's asking, what's this segment? So this is segment one, trial. I'm going to say trial. Okay, so I'm going to add recording. Okay, so I've added this, and it's getting saved up. Okay, so did you see that it was so simple for you to uh, do this podcast? Okay, so while it's saving, let me also show you the editing. Okay, so if you see in my first episode one, okay, there are three dots by the side. So I'm going to go and click on this. So the episode one has been done several days ago, maybe a week or two ago, but I can still edit on it. I can still add background music. I can edit the audio. I can rename the segment. I can delete it. I can do all the editing. So these are my editing formats here. I can add background music. I can edit the audio. I can rename the segment, or I can delete. Okay, so now let's say that you can uh, work on it anytime. So now this is what we did today. So I can edit the background music, audio. When I say audio, it is my voice audio. And the background music is the music that we have added. Then I can rename the segment. At the moment, it says segment one trial, but I can rename it to something else, or I can delete the whole thing from the file. Okay, so now your uh, I have got two podcasts ready for you here. So what do we do next? Now we'd like to share it with your on your social media platform. So we go to publish. When you go to publish, it's asking me whether I've read the rules. So it wants a description of the um, podcast. I told you earlier, a description is very important. So it's asking for a description in 100 words. Then an episode description, episode title, and then episode description.
It's again low, ma'am. Your voice.
Okay, okay, sorry. So I need a description, title description. Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Okay. I need a episode title within 100 words and an episode description within 4,000 words. I can also add my photograph if I want, or I can add a nickname, my pen name, whatever I want. Okay, so let's say I'm putting something here. No, I don't need that. So next, I go to next. So let me add something, blog on, oh no, what is it? Podcast on travel, and then I'd say details of a trip to Sri Lanka. Okay, so this is just for me to know what it is. Next, I'm going to. I can also give a title like, is it the episode number one, episode two, what kind of episode it is. I can do all the customization if required. Next, I'll go to next, and then it is saving, and then you can put your podcast name and find for you to find later. So, say my podcast name is uh, Get Set Up Lakshmi. Okay, so this is how you'll find me on my podcast, and this is the profile URL. So this is the link you share with your friends if you want to see my podcast. Okay, use this name and URL. Okay, so I'm saying yes. Use this podcast description at travel ideas. Okay, so you can say use this description. If you want to put a photo, that is, you can put a cover photograph. So you can search for upload an image. You can choose an existing photo. So let me just see some photograph. Okay, so I'm choosing this photograph. So that's my uh, cover picture, like you see in all your uh, songs and YouTube and all that. You always find something called a cover picture. So this is my cover picture. Okay, so what category? It gives me all the details of what category. So this is about uh, education, no, history, kids and family, leisure, music, news. It's about travel, no? Okay, so let me just say kids and family. Okay, so I'm just talking about uh, education for kids. Choose a language. English is the language, and then I say continue. Ready to publish? Are you ready to publish? Yes. So I'm going to say yes, and then it says you're almost live. Your podcast will be available on Spotify shortly. We'll let you know as soon as it's ready. So you are already on Spotify. Just imagine this is your first uh, podcast and you're already on Spotify. Okay, so I don't know whether I'm ready to listen to it, but maybe I will. And if you share it with your friends and relatives, you'll find others also listening to it. So, wasn't that very simple? Did you find it difficult to do that? Anybody here who's got any questions? Any questions? Sureka, Manju, Peter is missing. So, if you have questions, please do ask me because I can definitely give you some ideas, suggest something.
Ma'am, Manju ma'am asked to wrap up from first onwards. She joined late.
Join late. Okay. So, Manju ma'am, this is the we're talking about how to do your own podcast, and podcast, to be very particular, is a blog, a voice blog. Normally, we call a blog as a written blog where you write some information. It could be travel, cooking, parenting, or any subject which relates to you. So you heard of blogs. So blogs are basically written material about a certain subject, giving more information about that subject. A podcast is the same thing, but it's an oral version of it. When you talk what you're going to write, it becomes a podcast. But for podcast, the attention span is very small, so you need to have a specific format, whether you want an 8 minute podcast or a 20-minute podcast or a 6 minutes podcast. So every time you have your podcast, you must have a format. And if you're going to have episodes, the episode should have follow the same format. You can't have one episode which is 5 minutes and the next episode which is 20 minutes. Then people will lose interest in you. So when you create a podcast, first of all, design how many episodes you're going to do so that you can distribute your work evenly. So you're going to say, I have 12 podcasts with 8 minutes each. So 8 12s are, how much is it? 56, 8 12s are Oh,
96.
96. Okay.
96.
So you have to have 96 minutes of content. Okay, you need to
Hmm.
create 96 minutes of content. So you can split it up over a
Hmm.
period of 8 weeks or 10 weeks, depending on how you want it. And always give a little bit
Hmm.
of leverage for introduction and a closing for each episode. And find your topic,
Yes.
a topic which interests everyone, and uh, get
Hmm.
your matter ready. You don't have to do all the 96 minutes on day one. Split it over a period of
Hmm.
time, even when you're recording, because
Hmm.
sometimes there'll be fatigue in your voice. So split it and do it very nicely. So if you want to reach
Okay.
out to a certain category of audience or reach out to some type of a public, uh, podcast
Hmm.
works very well. You can also sing. I know Manju ma'am
Okay.
sings, so you can also sing and
Yes.
publish your podcast.
Hmm.
Okay, so you can create your
Okay.
own song podcast and put it up on Spotify. So the for you, I would suggest that you use this app called Anchor. It's called Anchor. Okay,
Yes.
so go to Play Store, download this app, and
Okay.
just follow the directions. It's very
Okay.
simple and publish it.
Ah.
Okay, if you have
Okay.
any difficulty, you can always get through to me, and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
will make you go forward. So why do we need a podcast? Is it's not always easy to get people to read something, but when you
Yes.
talk, especially when you hear lectures from saints and like professors and yogis and all that, you like
Yes.
their voice, you get intrigued
Yeah.
by their voice. There's something captivating by their voice.
Yes.
So that
Like
just
your voice, ma'am.
okay, like my voice. Thank you. So it's always nice to hear it than read it. So
Yeah.
and especially after a certain age, we need to wear glasses to read, and we get lazy to read. So the same thing that is written, when you read it, it's one thing, but when you hear it, it's a totally different thing.
Yes.
So that is why we use a podcast. And
Podcast.
podcast
Okay.
is very easy. Just
Mm.
make it, create. You can have different episodes. So have episode one, two, name it. Have a nice, interesting name. It shouldn't just be songs by Manju. It shouldn't be like that. Say, Aradhana rhythms from Manju Gupta. Just
Okay.
give it a
Ah.
fun name. So people will be intrigued. They'll say, "Oh, what is this Aradhana
Mm.
rhythms? Let's say what it is." At least they will listen to one. And then when they
Yes.
know it's nice, they will listen to the others as well.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we spoke about today. And
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, so I will just do a quick round with you. So can you see the plus sign?
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
the plus sign is where you go, and then there's
Yes.
another plus sign. Click on that, you get the
Yes.
audio button. Just click on the audio
Yes.
button. There's a
Yes.
timer. Just keep
Yeah.
talking to the
Oh.
desired time. Remember, our time is very, very important here. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to keep it 3 minutes, just keep it 3 minutes. But keep
Okay.
watching the time, because your
Okay.
time
Okay.
is the most important thing. Always, you can always edit, but unlike written material, you editing voice is very difficult, because you must get the right end to edit. You can't say continue and split it in cont. It has to finish as
Mm.
continue. So so those,
Okay.
it's very, very difficult to edit a written, I mean a spoken script. So
Mm.
try to be clear, clarity in your voice, no speeding, be very, very what to say, short, smart, and quick words. No big words. Don't use high words like paraphernalia and all those things. Keep simple words which people can
Mm.
understand, and
Mm.
short and crisp. That's the bottom line. Don't make very
Okay.
complex sentences like she went to the market, and in the market this happened and that happened and that happened, that happened. Then it
Mm.
keeps going. Instead, you say she
Mm.
went to the market, and in the market, what did she find? Oh, she
Mm.
found this and she found that. So make
Yes.
short sentences so that it's easy for you to delete sentences. It's
Okay.
easier
Okay.
to delete sentences than deleting words. Okay, so now
Ah.
can you see my time is gone? It's 1 minute and 33 seconds I have spoken. So now I'm
Mm.
happy with it, and I'm stopping. and I'm going to
Mm.
save it. And once it's
Mm.
saved, it comes as untitled. So there are three dots. Just go there and
Mm.
rename. So this is say Manju's podcast. Okay, give a nice name for it and save it.
Mm.
Whenever
Okay.
you find the time, the inclination, and the desire to do it, just keep recording it and keeping it in stock. Then you
Oh,
can do the editing whenever time permits.
ठीक
All
है.
right? Okay.
ठीक मैम. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Manju ma'am, for joining and asking
Mm.
me questions. It makes a lot of difference. And I've been missing you at all my classes.
मैम इवनिंग होती है ना, वो कॉल्स आती रहती हैं, क्लिनिक
Okay.
कॉल.
Okay. Okay.
मैम अदरवाइज I am also taking one session on 27th Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Oh,
on
what's
ear
the session?
diseases. Ma'am,
Oh,
on ear.
ear diseases. Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely. I'll join.
Yes.
So, yeah. So let me show my concluding slides.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Manju. So to
Thank you, ma'am.
summarize, we have shown you to learn this app in 5 simple steps: how to
Yes.
download the app from Play Store, how
Hmm.
to do the settings and the login details, understanding the home page, how to log in with your email ID or your name, how you have to do all that, and then editing and preparing your podcast and how to share a podcast with others. So this is information that you can share with anyone.